Rapid sequence induction intubation is one of the commonest way of securing an airway for a patient in emergency or a trauma patients. Now, this technique for a successful first pass airway placement requires some important precautions, some important preparations. Everything regarding the use of this technique in an emergency patient we will discuss in this section. Now, one thing we need to remember that what is rapid sequence induction intubation before starting with our discussion. Now, we know that in rapid sequence induction intubation, we give induction agent followed very quickly by a neuromuscular blocking agent or almost simultaneously both the drug to create a intubating condition as quickly as possible to decrease the apnea time of the patient and to decrease the time till it's the airway of the patient will remain unsafe, would remain unprotected. So what do I mean by this RSI? So rapid sequence induction involves administration of induction agent followed very quickly or almost simultaneously followed very quickly by neuromuscular blocking agent of a considerable faster onset to create an intubating condition fast to minimize duration of patient's apnea time and time for unprotected airway, in unprotected manner, right? Okay, so success of RSI, the first pass intubation success of RSI depends upon primarily three things. Number one, robust pre-oxygenation. Now, pre-oxygenation, why it is done, what are the techniques, we have discussed in detail in our topic pre-oxygenation in Learn Anesthesia app. So you can refer it there. Here I would just mention that what is the importance of robust pre-oxygenation and in emergency patients, what are the ways in which we can pre-oxygenate. Then the second important thing in RSI, for the success of RSI, is the right dosing of the drug and given in a timely manner. So correct doses and timing of induction and intubating agents, that is paralytic agent, and use of video laryngoscope. Now, if I find that patient has a difficult airway and I have video laryngoscope available, then in the first attempt I will use video laryngoscope, because here these emergency patient would not give us much time and it is very important to secure the airway in our first attempt. So every factor which can make the first attempt successful, we should start from very beginning, right? Okay, so what are the steps of RSI? There are 7 P's of RSI. First is proper preparation. The second is pre-oxygenation, then physiological optimization. Now, your emergency patient may not be the patient which you get in OR, the stable patient. They may be unstable, some may be stable, some may be unconscious. So what are the ways of optimizing them? We'll talk about. Then paralysis with induction, then positioning with protection against aspiration, and the placement of the endotracheal tube with proof, and post-intubation management. So these are the 7 P's which we have to take, and the timely manner we have to do these 7 P's. For example, if I am preparing for RSI, the preparation should start 10 minutes before intubation and everything should be checked, which I'll talk about. Then pre-oxygenation should start 5 minutes prior the intubation, and physiological optimization should start once the patient is brought to the ED, at least 3 minutes before intubation. And paralysis with induction, as we are giving the induction dose. Then positioning with protection 30 seconds after induction. Placement with proof within 45 seconds of the induction, we should have a clear cut like diagnosis whether the tube is there in the trachea or not. So the requirement of capnoexec pressure is very much important here. Then post intubation management. Now whether after intubation we have to put the patient on ventilator, paralyze, further sedate, everything should be done, let's say 60 seconds after induction. So these are the timely manner for these actions, and one by one we will discuss about these actions. So let's start with preparation. Now in preparation we have some let's say preparation for the medical personals. So medical personals preparation, then we have patients preparation, then we have equipments preparation, then we have drugs which we have to use. All it should be prepared properly. So starting with the medical personals preparation. So what is our, as a clinician, what preparation should we do? So as a clinician, it's a emergency procedure, and we would need the help of multiple people. Proper role assignment and proper discussion prior should be taken, that who will apply the cricoid pressure, who will give the drugs, who will pass the laryngoscope, everything should be communicated. So notify all the necessary personnel and assign the role. Then don the PPE if it's required. Personal protection equipment should be done by the person who is taking the attempt for the airway securement. Then check all the equipment, so suction, laryngoscope, endotracheal tube, video laryngoscope, every pre-oxygenation device, everything should be prior checked, right? And prepare the airway plan. So you have to secure the airway, and it's a highly charged up emergency situation. So it's a possibility that your first attempt may not be successful. So what should be the backup plan? It should be planned prior, and it should be communicated and discussed among all the personnel present there. So communicate the treatment plans clearly to the staff. Now let's talk about patient preparation. Now patient preparation should be done in a very proper manner. First of all, we need to confirm the correct patient and their let's say medications, allergy, lot of drugs which you will give. Like for example, succinylcholine is one of the commonest used neuromuscular blocking agent in rapid sequence induction intubation. They may have some contraindications, especially in these emergency and trauma patients. So we should look for those contraindication, and if there, we can use an alternative drug. So proper history for allergy and and any contraindication for the drugs which you are using should be taken. Then place the patient all the required basic monitor like pulse oximeter, capno should be available. Then 2 IV line and confirm the function. Always after putting the IV line, confirm the function, because emergency is a highly charged up situation. Maybe a nursing staff has put, there are a lot of new people working out there, and competency may not be same for everyone. So it should be always checked. Then perform an airway assessment as quick as possible. Pre-oxygenate the patient. Now I said this is a most important technique for the success of RSI, that is robust pre-oxygenation. And flush rate technique should be used, which I'll talk about. Then assist dyspneic patient with non-invasive or bag valve mask. Now patient may be breathing but unconscious, may not have adequate breathing. So these patients should be assisted properly. Then optimize the physiology of the patient. Proper optimization of the physiology, that is against desaturation, against hypotension should be taken. These are not your patient like patient in ORs. They may be unstable patient, they may be trauma patient. So we should properly identify what kind of emergency we will face, and we should take the precaution against it. Then position the patient in a proper manner, which I will talk more in detail. Then equipments, all the equipments which are required, the airway devices, the bag valve mask, the suction, everything should be properly prepared. So bag valve mask, non-invasive, HFNC, your oral nasal airway, suction catheters, suction, laryngoscope blade and handles, video laryngoscope, ET tube, one side smaller and one side larger, stylate, bougie, then your syringe to inflate the cuff, the lubricant, the supraglottic airway device in case you are not able to put the tube, cricothyroidotomy set kit, monitors, the CO2 detector, the capnograph or CO2 detector calorimetry can also be used, ventilator, that which we'll put after putting the tube in the patient, the means to secure the ET tube, right? Then medications, the let's say the medications which we need would be your pre-treatment medications, like maybe in some patient we can use fentanyl beforehand, which is always an optional here. Then hemodynamic support medication, in many patient we may need a flush dose of vasopressor because they are near arrest situations, and before giving the any drug we would give a flush dose of vasopressor. So all those things should be prepared. The induction agent, the neuromuscular blocking agent, and if you are using rocuronium, always have the reversal agent for the rocuronium. Sugamadex also there in case you fail to intubate. Then resuscitation drugs and the post intubation sedation and analgesic drug. Everything should be available in vicinity. Okay, then pre-oxygenation. Now, as I said earlier also, pre-oxygenation is core for the success of first pass airway securement. Now, pre-oxygenation can be done by various ways. What is the core principle? Why do we do pre-oxygenation? The basic principle for pre-oxygenation is to increase the apnea time. So the core principle for pre-oxygenation is that it increases apnea time, right? It will give us more time for the airway manipulation. Now, by whatever method we are pre-oxygenation, our target is to replace the nitrogen of FRC by oxygen. So, pre-oxygenation significantly replaces nitrogen in FRC by oxygen, right? Now, remember that when we pre-oxygenate, it increases the apnea time and it may vary from patient to patient. So, various research, what it has shown, that if you are pre-oxygenated and healthy male, then there is a 6 to 8 minutes of apnea time. But younger children, less than 10 kg, less than 4 minutes is the apnea time. The adults with chronic illness or obesity, less than 3 minutes, and patient near full-term pregnancy, less than 3 minutes. So, these are the apnea time. And emergency patient, they may have even lesser apnea time. They desaturate very fast. So, remember, critically ill patient in emergency department or ICU often desaturate faster, more quickly, right? So, what are the ways of pre-oxygenation? The classical way of pre-oxygenation is that we are giving oxygen at 15 liter per minute by anesthesia face mask and circuit. And that's what we do in OR, operating room. But in emergency, we may not have the anesthesia machine available, right? So, pre-oxygenation is mostly done by oxygen delivering devices like a non-rebreathing mask attached to the flow meters, and they do not have that kind of good seal which our anesthesia face mask will have to give a near 100% oxygen. So there are ways by which we can increase the oxygen concentration delivered, which I will talk about. First of all, we will get different type of patient in emergency. Now, critically ill patient, contrary to patient in operating room, critically ill patient, now they may have inadequate spontaneous ventilation. So they may be breathing, but their tidal volume, their respiratory rate is not adequate. Now they may have adequate ventilation and may be cooperative. These are the best patient. Or they may have adequate ventilation but may be uncooperative due to, let's say, a lesser consciousness or pain, whatever. So we can get different kind of patient. Now let's talk about what we will do if a patient has inadequate ventilation, right? If they are not having a proper tidal volume and respiratory rate. Now in these patients, we should perform a gentle support of the ventilation, coordinating with their inspiratory effort and keeping the positive pressure valve at the 20 centimeter of water, so that too much positive pressure is also not generated, and also by keeping the flush valve the oxygen at a flush flow rate. What do I mean by oxygen at flush flow rate? So when you open the flow meter, you turn on the oxygen, you go on turning on the oxygen in the open direction till maximum. You cannot turn it more. When you go on turning on till maximum, now it can deliver like 20 to 70 liter per minute depending upon the type of flow meter which the hospital has. So patient with inadequate spontaneous ventilation, in them oxygenation should be performed using gentle positive pressure ventilation. I'm saying gentle positive pressure ventilation with bag mask